Buenas tardes, bonjour, guten morgen. Thank you for your patience with us as we grow and learn into actually what has become the beloved technology that is granting us back our community. And we are here together thanks to marvelous, marvelous work on the behalf of the PEN International Women's Writers Committee. Months ago, we began meeting every morning thinking about what can we do during this time to bring everyone together. And the answer was, as always, poetry. So I'm absolutely thrilled to share the poetry that we have for you today. These are our gifted PEN poets. 18 poets from around the world sharing their gifts in honor of beloveds and loves and languages and freedoms lost. At this very special time of year, we pause for remembrance, for grief, and for celebration. Thank you. We are so glad you're here. For all our guests, we at PEN International have a wonderful tradition. It's called the empty chair. We begin our gatherings and all our celebrations, all our meetings with an act of remembrance. We remember that we who are free are privileged to be free. We who write are privileged to be writers. We are free to dream, to publish, and we must not ever take that for granted. So we always remember and honor a writer who does not have those privileges, a writer who is in prison, a journalist who has been disappeared, or especially in our country, a beloved Mexico, a writer who has been murdered for their words, for the act of writing truth to power. Today, we honor Nasrin Sotoudeh, an Iranian lawyer and human rights activist and writer, wife, and mother, a woman who has lost all those freedoms. We may not hear her voice, but we can see her face. And I hope that we will be able now to share with you an image of Nasrin Sotoudeh. Our empty chair today, Nasrin Sotoudeh, Iranian human rights lawyer, writer, activist, wife, and mother. We ask for your vigorous support for her. She has represented many women's rights and human rights activists, many victims of child abuse and juvenile defenders on death row. Nasrin Sotoudeh was put in prison in 2018, arrested for representing women who had taken off their headscarves in public to protest compulsory hijab laws. She is serving a cruelly long sentence, 148 lashes and 38 years in retaliation for her work. This is one of the longest sentences the Iranian judiciary has ever handed down. In August, Nasrin Sotoudeh went on a hunger strike. 6 weeks later, her health became critical and she was transferred to a hospital, but days later, she was sent back to prison against medical advice. The UN experts investigating this case say her imprisonment is unfathomable and clearly in retaliation for her defense of human rights. On the 20th of October, just recently, PEN International learned that Nasrin Sotoudeh was transferred to the harshest, worst prison in Iran, the prison where they put all their most dangerous criminals, a prison without drinking water, without adequate medical supervision, without proper food. And her situation is now dire. The guards in that prison have come down with COVID. Many of the prisoners have come down with COVID. Apparently, the Iranian judiciary has released 85,000 prisoners on temporary furlough. Why not Nasrin Sotoudeh? So we call an urgent call for action demanding that the Iranian authorities release Nasrin Sotoudeh immediately, unconditionally, especially in light of her deteriorating health. We will put a link for action that you can take in our chat at the end of this reading, and we hope that you will send emails in her defense. Thank you. And now we are blessed to see and hear from our pen poets. Let's share some poetry. We start our reading today with Jazz Money, an award-winning poet and filmmaker of the Wiradjuri Aboriginal Australian heritage, currently living on the beautiful sovereign lands of Gondungra and Darug nations. Jazz Money comes to us today from Penn, Sydney. Welcome, Jazz.
Hello, here the Marang Nindaga. I'm going to read a poem titled If I Write a Poem. If I write a poem, it's for the pen banned from my grandmother's hands. And if I write, it's for our language, stolen from the mouths of babies in cribs. And if I write a poem, it's so that our children will read some truth of their family. And if I write, it's because our story hasn't been written by us for us. And if I write, it's because I hate the structure, the capitalism, the greed, the fury. I write a poem because I love this country. I write a word because I love my daughter who isn't yet born. I write because there is no truth yet, no justice. I write because there is no justice here. And if I write a poem, it's because my mother can't understand why I weep into the soil, but she cries with me all the same. And if I write, it's because I love a woman and others do and cannot write about their love for her. And if I write a word, it's to stop me from burning within. It's to stop me from burning the city down and bearing my breasts, wailing with my clapsticks, a song that boils in my chest, in my soul, that no one has taught me the words to yet. I write a poem because I was raised off homelands and yearn for a place I don't hold that holds me. And if I don't write a poem, it's for the magnificence of lightning, of cicadas in chorus, rhythms too beautiful to capture. And if I don't write a word, it's because I love this country and all the ways I love her burns, and all the ways I love her burns. And if I don't write, it's because I love a woman and that is a sacred thing. And if I don't write, it's because my mother loves me every way she can. And if I don't write a word, it's because I can't bring my baby into a world on fire. And if I don't write, don't think I had nothing to say. And if I don't write, don't think I had nothing to say. And if I don't write, it's because this language, these letters are not worthy. And if I write a word on the inside of my mouth, in the dust, in the sand, it's because I know no other truth at all. Andangu, thank you.
Thank you for those burning words and for reminding us of the ferocity and the love behind the grief of loss for land and language and freedom to love. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Vera Bottenbusch, a German poet, artist, filmmaker, and a member of the board from German Penn Center. Welcome, Vera.
Im Takt der Gefühle. In den Stacheldrahtträumen meiner Kindheit verlor ich den Vater. Ich habe ihn nie wiedergefunden. Mag sein, er fand nicht mehr zurück aus den Stacheldrähten des Kriegs. So sprach er nicht gern vom Frieden. Auf der Couch vor den Nachrichten spüre ich die Leere und höre die Schüsse über dem Abgrund. Wenn das Herz seinen Takt verloren, schlägt es noch immer. Wenn die Worte fehlen, gibt es immer noch Wörter. Gerufen komme ich aus weiter Ferne. Das Kreuzchen ist mein Begleiter. Wo der Stern fehlt, führt sein spitzer Schrei durch die Nacht. Wie still ist dagegen der Morgen. Kein Vogel kann mir den Traum ersingen. Wenn alle Tränen geweint, blaues Licht wiegt weh und ach, Tod, was ich erhoffte, der Eiter fließt ab. Die Wunde bleibt ein großes Loch. Dort will ich mich einrichten. Im schrägen Licht welken die Gräser. Den Saum der Baumspitzen berührt die Unendlichkeit. Wo ich nichts mehr fühle, war einst das Leben. Ich bin aus der Welt gefallen. Thank you.
And the beautiful music of sorrowing. There's some amazing words. And one of the verses says, when words are missing, there are still words. And who of us does not know that? Thank you, Vera. Next, we have Yirgalem Fisseha Mebrahtu. Yirgalem was imprisoned from 2009 to 2015 in Eritrea for her writings, 6 years in prison. After she was released in 2018, she fled her country. Currently, Yirgalem is an honored scholarship member of German Penn Center as a writer in exile. In 2019, she received the Freedom of Expression Penn Award and published her book of poetry. She will read her poem first in Tigrinya, I think I said it right, and then I will read her poem in English. Welcome, Yirgalem.
تتحف دلخا تحنطق تتحجر بزي دمسي تمدر تتقدر تتحف دلخا نعمقت سمعيت لويسكا بنبعات مس حافظتو مس مقاتو أبوانو أبسعتو حقي تصحيقا فتحنا تجويت حليو تركيصا فقري نقويت نجرات سئنو قيدي قوف مسبلكا أب منقدي كم سبكادو إذنخا توتف بقان زنج أو جاوتان نفسكا تهاتف ويسرقي إلكا تعزب تتحف نتحاسوتهم حقي نتحققا حاسوت مسليناتهم كبري تبعتكا دماموت النابلوخا كميلكا خطحرفو بدوكا بقدميخا مكلو محلفو تتحفو مبر كميلي تتحفو صحف بل حنت تفلفلو ورقات اسكابي اب امرو صحف مو اصبق امبرو نفاس بزي رخبو وحوج بزي فحرو نغزيو اب بقبرو. Thank you.
I'm so grateful. We're so grateful your voice is in the world, Yirgalem, calling to us with this passionate grief of exile. Here is Yirgalem's poem in English. Are you writing? Are you writing, sketching, and scribbling, silently roaring and arguing, engraving your deep emotions with the dough of tears that give off steam and heat there and then? When truth battles to speak and justice is hijacked, compassion is trampled and love screams. When the center cannot hold and anarchy is loose, do you shudder away in the pain and the noise? Or do you withhold, observe, and stay and write? Their lie is called truth and your truth called falsehood. Their bigotry is called honor and your courage is paid in death. How could you then not write while standing there and it is fleeting before you? Of course you would write. How couldn't you? Oh, go then and write. Let it flow. But where is the paper? Just write it in the mind or conceal it in the heart for now, that safe store where the wind cannot reach and the flood cannot destroy. Coming into that incredible, incredible poem's music is our own Kätlin Kaldmaa. Kätlin is an Estonian poet, writer, translator, and literary critic as well. She is our international secretary for PEN. Kätlin has published 5 collections of poetry and is currently working on her 6th, and her poems have been translated into 33 languages. Welcome, Kätlin.
Mathematics. My grandmother is 2.5 times younger than I. My mother is 26 years older than I. And yet my mother has always missed that war skinny girl who died before my mother knew how to say mother. I know how to say mother and how to swim into the cave through a secret entrance. I know how to say mother in 10 languages, and my poems that are because of my mother and because of my grandmother have been translated into 33 languages. My poems have outlived my grandma. And with every year, I'm moving farther away from that girl from Uhr. And with every year, I'm moving closer to her. I hope she became a tree, even if only at the graveyard. If not a tree, then a bloom or two. Not only these ferns that were so difficult to get growing in our garden, as there was too warm and too much sun. Ferns are the plants of tenebrity. Finally, they adjusted. My daughter calls all ferns her great-grandma. She is also older than her great-grandma and the same age as my mother when I was born. Aitäh. Thank you.
I just love that weaving of our ancestors and our land and the deep truth of memory that we move closer as we move away. Thank you, Kätlin. Our next poet, Laura Hernández, comes to us from Penn Center, Guadalajara. Laura is a poet, historian, essayist, playwright, and storyteller, and the author of 22 books translated into many languages. Welcome, Laura.
Hi. Altar de muertos. En México celebramos la muerte con música y alegría. Recuerdos y buena comida hacen del Día de Muertos una fiesta memorable. Nada de tristezas por el que se ha ido. Hay que recordar los buenos momentos de cuando a nuestro lado ellos estuvieron. En las casas se erigen bellos altares con un ritual que viene de tiempos anteriores. Debe tener 3 niveles. El de abajo es el inframundo. Hay que hacer un camino para que el difunto no se pierda. Acerrín pintado de amarillo, bordeado de velas blancas y de flores en pasuchil. El de en medio es la tierra. Va la comida y el pan, agua de Jamaica, pulque o mezcal. Recuerdos queridos, objetos y fotos, y todo aquello que los familiares quieran poner para evocarlo. El último es el cielo, donde ahora ellos habitan. La foto grande es a quien se dedica. El altar de muertos es historia hecha de amor para mantener viva la memoria de los que no mueren en nuestro corazón. Our altar must have 3 levels. One is in the underworld. From there, we must make a path so the deceased does not get lost. A path of sawdust painted yellow, lined with white candles. The next level is the earth. There, we offer food, the special bread, hibiscus water, pulque, and mezcal. We celebrate the memories, placing loved objects and photos. All the things that remind us of our beloveds. And the last level is heaven, where those left now live. And there, we place their picture. The altar of the dead is a story made of love to keep their memories alive, so that for us, in our hearts, they do not die. Thank you.
Path of yellow lit by white candles. An altar is a story of love. Ah, yes. Our next poet is Sushima Acharya of Nepal Pen Center. Sushama is a retired professor of Tribhuvan University with more than 15 published works, including books, novels, poems, and academic writings. Welcome, Sushama.
Hello. The title of the poem I'm reciting is Effusions of Grief. The following poem is a part taken from Effusions of Grief, a translation of my Nepali work titled Sukhs of Danjali. Effusions of Grief is an elegy written on the demise of my father, Vasudev Luitel, which came a year after the departure of my husband, Padam Acharya. My father is a renowned Nepali writer, remembered for his contribution in the development of satirical and humor Nepali literature. Effusions of Grief is a poem in which I try to express, recount, and resolve the trauma I felt upon the demise of those who were the closest to me. I can't ever express enough gratitude to my father's contribution in making me whoever I am today, and I would hence choose to be eternally grateful. Now, the poem. It is not that one doesn't know death is a timeless reality, and to keep rummaging into memories is to squander valuable time. But Papa, I have learned that theory and practice are different. To teach and to learn are different. To say and to do are apart. To express the meaning of being and non-being is indeed difficult. I wished to be relieved of the burden of life, to run away from the fearsome and callous society, not having to listen to words of sympathy and pretense, not having to pass a dependent life bereft of love, not having to accept alms of pity, whilst the save-herd kite would be lost into oblivion and life's boat would sink. But Papa, at that moment, who are there to understand my feeling apart from you? Who was there to listen to my wailing besides you? Even at the doorstep of 90 years, being a heart shattered by Padam's demise, having drunk one scalding tears, you gave me the courage to live, encouraged me to continue my sojourn alone, instilled in me the meaning of life and existence. You are the guide, Papa, who granted self-realization to those confounded on the way. You are the redeemer of those who were neglected. You are the energy of language, literature, and culture. You are the repository never tempted by wealth. respect and position. You are the incarnation of knowledge. You are the true incarnation of humanity. That's why I request you, Papa, swing in the terrace by being heirs of paddy in the hills, valves and regions, blossom like the rhododendron in the courtyards and the kitchen gardens. From the infant to the elderly, fill their lives with a sweet smile by showering your blessing of ambrosia. Proclaim the slogan of peace. Thank you.
Sushima, I'm so sorry for your loss, and thank you for that luminous and heart-wrenching journey through grief to praise and celebration. Thank you. Our next poet is Jorge Luis Gonzáles, a member of PEN Guadalajara since 2017. Jorge is the editor for a collection of 17 poetry books called Entre Tintas Tinto. Jorge is also a scholarship winner from the Jalisco State Council for Culture and Arts for his book, Entre Espejos, Calle Mi Voz. Welcome, Jorge.
Hello, everyone. Cernuda Solitude is the title of my poem that refers to Luis Cernuda. It's a Spanish poet who lived in Guadalajara. Some of his words are in my text. When the appointment time approaches, the solitude would become as consort nor empire. The crowd, bleak pattern, will have no room at the Friends' org to dwell the burials. They claim the life is free and superb. Now sunken, where should bitterness and misery must be directed? Love yourself in a corner when dawn isn't yet morning. Resign the insistent slumber and learn to desire a good journey. Wretched warmness, wintry greatness, the conscience ride off and return to his refugee, following the flame of loss. Sick of wasting long years pretending spots of glory. Sick of darkness searching friends to cure the lack of shelter. Sick of quiet people that leave home searching the gifts of the world. Shadows reveal after the night and his domains. Sick of gathering hope ashes for the very last hour. The poet stays in silence, and the broken old man collects the clarity in the delayed stay until it settles down. Sweat of gravestone, pronouncing the birds turn it into phantom, what the light itself is steeped by the desire, the blossom, and the view of the world. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Oh, I love those words. Learn to desire a good journey. And then how it goes from desire to bloom to view. Thank you, Jorge. Our next poet, Unoma Azuah. Unoma is a college professor and an award-winning writer. Her latest book is a memoir entitled Embracing My Shadow, Growing Up Lesbian in Nigeria. That book has been described as powerful by the prestigious Ms. magazine. Unoma is a member of PEN Nigeria. Welcome, Unoma.
Home is where the heart is. In the monastery of my mind, light and silence share a bend, and at both stations I have knelt, bruised and bleeding, pruning wild petals, even as my cassock gathers stones and dust. As a gardener in the rose beds of life, I live in supplication, lean food and labor, afraid of invisible thorns. The closest thorns cut the deepest. My life is of gazes at metal crosses, the thorns and blood that was Christ's lot. I live to partake of the wanton ripping through a clear flesh, in the communion that is a flash in a pan of bread and wine. The tolling bells call, the sleep, waken, bacon, prayers and beats of blunted edges. It calls to vows, reunions, knots and strings of dangling hopes. First, there is silence, then a flood of light. My gown shuffles across cold floors to summons at the Tower of Grace. This is a familiar temple, but it hurts. In the monastery of my mind, my lover and I cannot lock lips in the wind. There is no name for our frame, and we smile into the faces of strangers, hoping they ignore the weight of what we share. It's heavy, so heavy it tilts the globe. After a long trek in the desert of life, my lover is a festival of meals. We have devoured love and made lost the aroma that hangs in our kitchen. I bore my lover like news delivered to a keen receiver. The message and the messenger merge. In nights of sweat and fear, it's either the heat of the tropics or the steam of love lost and found. In the monastery of my mind, my lover and I are eunuchs in the corridors of echoes. The sterility of crosses, silence, prayers, and mortality are the landmarks of our barren landscape. And after our run for love, we may return as bones gathered for the place our umbilical cords rest. Yet, home is where the heart hurts. The closet stones cut the deepest. Thank you.
Oh, I'm crazy for the tension of eros and loss in that poem, Unoma. The weight of what we share tilts the globe. Now we have the pleasure of presenting the poet Germaine Beaulieu. Germaine is a member of the board of directors of the Centre Québécois du Pen International, and she is also a member of the Women's Committee of that same center. Welcome, Germaine.
Chaos à ciel ouvert. Au cœur du béton armé, des traits verticaux, pendules immobiles. Le long des couloirs empreints de fièvre, des portes verrouillées. Aucune courbe, sinon celle des corps encagés. Voix et cris résonnent, percutent les tempes. Coup de poing sur la liberté. Un silence indifférent masque les crimes. Sur vos visages tétanisés, des cicatrices à tout jamais vivantes dessinent l'alphabet d'une liberté maudite. Cadence de souffle, tout respire la peur. Des mains minées écrivent au noir, fragments de texte, de la terreur au silence. Entendez-vous ce qui ne peut s'écrire? Ça fait peur, ça fait mal. État de choc. Le plexus se brise, les secondes éclatent. Autant d'otages condamnés. Sans fin, des clameurs aux syllabes affûtées résonnent à huis clos. Les muscles tenaillés, l'épiderme recouvert de plaies. La conscience agonise. Prisonnière de la peur, les pierres dorment. Sur l'os, douleur gravée, pur carnage. Les tranchées se referment, laissent à vif l'index des disparus. Sous les nuages menaçants, des ombres désarmées tiennent encore debout. manuscrit brûlé, comme une criminelle, la poésie abattue. Une nappe de sang macule vos corps torturés. La vie reprend son air d'aller. Dans la prison, les fauves blessés sortent des tanières, cherchent une odeur de vivant. Un filet de lumière tapisse les murs, lénifie la souffrance. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, the way that poem dreams itself so delicately from image to image of war and loss of freedom, and leaves us with so much power and sorrow. Amazing. Our next poet is Philip Dunkerley of English Pen. Philip runs the well-known Stamford Poetry Stanza. His poems have appeared in a variety of magazines, webzines, and anthologies. Welcome, Philip.
My poem is called Road Home. I wrote it in memory of my Brazilian father-in-law, José Francisco Leopoldino. Road home. Waiting for them to come from the house, I wander out into the quiet road, turn idly, look towards the shops and passage beyond. Then I see him, as real in my mind's eye as the curbstones, patched asphalt, and arching trees. He comes slowly at the end of another day's work, never to retire, helped home in his brown and beige uniform by the gentle slope and dappled shade, anticipating the coolness of the tiled roof, the plate, ladle, and half-full pans that are always waiting. Anyone else here at this moment wouldn't see him approaching step by step, but he's as real in me as my years of being and doing. Where is this reality? Since he last came home, every cell of my body has changed and changed again. I can't answer that question, but I have him now. And as long as the road is quiet and they are still not ready to come from the house, I can keep him. He was a good man, and I enjoy watching him approach, passing the curbstones, treading the road home. Thank you.
This is one of the great gifts of poetry to us, how the poet's imagination can call back the beloved for that one more moment of intimate contact. Oh, thank you, Philip. Coming to us now from Penn, Canada, is the poet Shung Shui. Shung is a multi-awarded poet, journalist, writer, commentator, and she is a key leader of the Chinese pro-democracy movement. Shung actively promotes human rights, multiculturalism, and has helped and is helping persecuted ethnic groups for 30 years. Welcome, Shung.
I can't find a way to commemorate you for poet Meng Lang. You looked back, your meager beard no longer stubborn, eyes filled with sudden gloom, lips framed in a shy and subtle smile. Silently, you turned around at a corner, transformed into a fish before vanishing into the awaiting water. 于是 人们在水里摸索，想和你重温曾经的友谊。啤酒花飞溅，星星碎了一地。当6月的暴雨洗礼了你长安街的脚印，当月亮的焦灼烤黄了你的胡须，结局就已经在路上等你。誓死在失魂30年落魄，倔强的胡须拉起你疲惫的身体，一次次闯入禁地，将五色的词语串成经幡的彩旗，一路向南，脚印排列出挣扎的诗句，你没有犹豫。外滩的歌哨随着上海的喧闹，撞击着汹涌的记忆，珠江的味道伴着香港的热潮，在眼前悄悄地淡去。你高喊，黑夜在一处秘密的地点折磨太阳。你低吟，诗人是这个时代唯一的声音，这时代总是那人山人海中传来的一阵阵空寂。没有人知道你到底是在转过哪一个街角，披发独行，向天上的河流走去。If only every poet could be like you, in the wild dancing wind, in the silently singing rain, in the dark night drinking mixed with tears and laughter, and in the farewell of last smiling, to hold the bottom of morality. Why should we need to sneak into the dark, hold up tears, leaning on each other's shoulders, in this chilly killing night, for you and for us, quietly cry. Thank you.
Ow! No one knows which street corner you have gone to walking towards the Milky Way. Oh, and you know, it's just so thrilling to me to be in this event and hearing all these languages. And this is just really, for me, one of the great unique treasures of pen and pleasures of pen, that we get to be in this community, sharing each other's languages and cultures and stories. Next, we have the poet Axel Reitel. Axel is a German language poet, writer, and composer living in Berlin. Axel is a member of Pen Abroad. Welcome, Axel.
Usti nad Labem. Hier haben wir den Ruf der Freundschaft gehört. Morgens sang ihn die Drossel auf unserem Zelt. Betrunken vom Licht tauchten wir unter die Inseln aus Asche. Abends im Pifnice gossen wir die Erde für Jan Palach. Die taumelnden Worte trug uns der Wind davon. Usti nad Labem. Here we heard the call of friendship, sung by the thrush in the morning on our tent. Shrunken from the light, we dived under the islands of ashes. At night in Pifnice, we poured the earth for Jan Palach. Our tumbling words were carried away from us by the wind. Thank you.
That poem, Axel, it's actually a huge history of passionate activism compressed into the song of the morning thrush. Gorgeous. Next, we have Black Earth Institute fellow and editor Pamela Yusuk. Pamela is a member of PEN America. She has 7 published collections of poems, including the American Book Award winner Crazy Love, as well as Blood Money, and her next book, Refugee, is forthcoming from Red Hen Press in Los Angeles. Welcome, Pam.
The Taliban takes Pakistan for my family with its roots in Siberia, Mongolia, Afghanistan, Syria, and Belarus. Women shouldn't be allowed like plastic bags, says the adolescent to the female journalist wrapped in a red shawl. Her hands are the same color as his. In an empty room near the Pakistan-Afghan border, the boy sits cross-legged after school, where he is learning the alphabet of becoming a suicide bomber. Why should they be allowed to wander the streets, he asks, not joking in Farsi. Women are for domestic. That's what they should be. Flattening dark as landmine lids, his eyes never move from hers, nor see the way she tries not to recoil. She knows she could be executed for this interview. Clamped in the boy's right hand, the Quran is written in Arabic he cannot read. His words stutter like bullets fired from an Uzi or doves on fire. He wants to join the Taliban, God willing. Those burning wings flare as he recounts the day American missiles shattered his everyday village. Helicopters diced the air above his head as he ran to search adobe rubble for his beloved cousin. We looked everywhere, his mouth ages, quivering into commas of grief, but already the dogs were eating him. All we could find to bury were his legs. We had to carry his legs home in plastic bags. Cracking 100. Near the border, preschoolers worry about butterflies. How can they fly over the wall? 50 feet tall, thick steel plates would sear delicate wings. And lizards, how can they get through? Small fingers draw orange wings crashing into steel. Lizards hanging their blue heads. Y el tigre, severing ancient migration paths, the wall will ensure the jaguar's end. Daytime temps crack the knuckles of 100, 10 degrees above normal. No wall can stop rising heat, the death of coral reefs, or the governor calling for the National Guard to secure the border. In holding cells, children separated from deported parents wait for a future no one can predict. And in the San Joaquin Valley, strawberries and tomatoes rot in fields. Immaculate in his Armani suit, the president tweets for congressional support to build the wall, calls for a prayer meeting in the Oval Office. You can hear Bible hymns hum behind bulletproof doors across the lush White House lawn, where monarch butterflies, who've migrated all the way from Mexico, land on bright rose petals tended by hands, the same color as earth that nourishes them. Thank you.
Oh, poetry that breaks our heart with beauty. And I'm so glad that this day of grieving references what has been going on at the border between our two countries and the children separated from parents. Brava. Coming to us next is the poet Elsa Espinoza. Elsa is a social communicator, a cultural manager. She is a poet and a member of PEN Nicaragua. Elsa enjoys silence, rainy afternoons, and a delicious coffee. Welcome, Elsa.
Hello, everybody. Cuando muera. Cuando muera, no quiero que me recuerdes. Si tienes algo que decirme, no calles. Dímelo esta noche. Si deseas abrazarme, hazlo. no por el compromiso de la obra fúnebre. Si deseas besarme, bésame, aún mejor que nuestro primer beso. Si te hago falta, demuéstramelo, hazme sentir inmortal. Guarda tus penas y sentimientos encontrados el día que esté en la horca. No quiero ser el fantasma de tus recuerdos, ni la fuente de tus desvelos, tampoco la carga mental de tu aflicción. Déjame ser una epifanía. No quiero que veas lo que no podré ver ese día. Extraños repitiendo oraciones, tumbas enjugadas en noches de tierra, mi sepulcro. Sí, soy egoísta, pero tengo razón de serlo. Cada quien es celoso de sus tesoros y de sus pertenencias guardadas en telarañas. Cuando muera, no rías, no te quejes, no intentes llorar, que lo que fue, fue, y lo que está, está. Te aviso, no reencarnaré, no seré tu ángel guardián, no apareceré como espanto ni espectro alguno para atormentarte o jalarte los pies. No esperaré tu partida, mucho menos resucitaré. Simplemente seré el aire que respires, el humo que salga de tu cigarrillo. ¿Por qué repartir obras en un pedestal? Sabes que mi galope ya no será más. El viento me ha traicionado. Olvídame. Cuando muera, yo lo haré. En Nicaragua, forbidden to forget. Prohibido olvidar. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for that sassy poem, Miss Elsa. If you want to hug me, do it. As we come around the home stretch of our poetry journey today, I love this message of live while you are alive. Thank you. Our next poet is Hemino H. Abad. Hemino Jimmy is a member of Penn Philippine Center. He is a university professor emeritus at the University of the Philippines, where he has been teaching since 1965. Welcome, Jimmy.
Baby, cradle and all. There was no help or quick or potent enough. It was clearly the end. The stars promised eternity to his child's soul in a cold, remote twinkle of obscure speech. But it was not for succor that he looked to them. No, not for supernatural space to contain his loss. Full of that knowledge that once had stood in the middle of sleep and mocked the song, he had no time to look idly down a street and spend his mind's recognition on a stranger. It was clearly the end. It was that he had to meet again, turning from the gate, climbing the stairs, inventing the words of comfort when it had no shape, except that his wife, who had not seen the stars nor heard the fall of their light, might also invent the final word of their ascent. Who could tell if in that sleep his son, too young for thought, had learned a motion toward his father's wish, that he looked from his cloudy bow, where the wind had rocked all his years to rest, and looking, cheer, with the constant weather of his innocence, to help the mind cradle the swing, the burden of that windy truth. and so in a later time it might be found it was all in song, but the sense of the words different. The gusts that break his mind, so the next stroke and blow might gain less fearsome touch, so mine might learn to bend. And be made more competent to bear the weight of each loved one's death. Thank you.
Inventing words of comfort for the unbearable. Indeed, this is the task that our poets and pour ourselves towards. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Our next poet is Beaulieu, a creative and academic poet, critic, literary activist, editor, publisher, and teacher. And Beaulieu is the president of PEN Nigeria. Welcome, Beaulieu.
The title of my poem is To Breathe Again. I long to smile again, wrapping arms around friends, friends to be not like lepers shunned, nor greeted, stay safe in graveyard monotone. Monotone mangled by cold mask, masking mournful faces. I long to live again, bathing in sunshine, breathing pristine air. I long to laugh, playing who's in the garden, sprinting, singing, dancing, dining with fellow beings, playing ayo and other games in the shade of friendly trees. How I long to breathe again, feeling again the warmth of humanity. Thank you.
Yay, thank you for breathing us back to life and community, where I so hope we will be as soon as possible. Our next poet is Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh is a poet, novelist, photographer, travel writer, and planning committee member of Korea Pen Center and a travel culture magazine. Welcome, Michelle.
I'm going to read the Song of Hope and Star. 희망가, 문병란. 얼음장 밑에서도 고기는 헤엄을 치고 눈보라 속에서도 매화는 꽃망울을 튼다. 절망 속에서도 삶에 끈기는 희망을 찾고 사막의 고통 속에서도 인간은 오아시스의 그늘을 찾는다. 눈 덮인 겨울의 밭고랑에서도 보리는 뿌리를 뻗고 마늘은 빙점에서도 그 매운맛 향기를 지닌다. 절망은 희망의 어머니, 고통은 행복의 스승. 시련 없이 성취는 오지 않고 단련 없이 명금은 날이 서지 않는다. 꿈꾸는 자여, 어둠 속에서 멀리 반짝이는 별빛을 따라 긴 고행길 멈추지 말라. 인생 항로 파도는 높고 폭풍우 몰아쳐 배는 흔들려도 한 곱이 지나면 구름 뒤 태양은 다시 뜨고 고요한 백길 순항에 내일이 꼭 찾아온다. 별, 여서완. 자기 면에 별이 있다. 누가 와서 불 켜주는 별이 아닌 반짝반짝 스스로 빛나야 한다. 각자의 색으로 빛나는 별들이 모여 밤하늘은 빛난다. 내가 빛나야 세상이 아름답다. Thank you.
Thank you for that delicate spiraling us into hope, Michelle. And thank you for that marvelous flash of fabulous purple. Gorgeous. And bringing us on home is the poet Ray Marie Taylor. Originally from the American Southwest, Ray Marie is a poet, performer, and visual artist, now living and writing in Montreal. Ray Marie is a member of Saint Miguel de Pen and Centre Québécois du Pen. Welcome, Ray Marie.
Hello. This is a poem called Love Song for What We Are Losing. Sing, sing the shattered hoping, the shattered having, the shattered honing of lives. Sing for the cratered desert, chant with the thunder of tides, grieve for the oil on ocean, hum with the lapping receding tides. Sing for the breath in our bodies, hum for the breathless bodies. Stroke a child's hands playfully, tussle her hair, gladden to the laughter of friends, chant for the laboring of love, muscles that move, bricks that stay put, kind eyes telling. Weep for husbands with scattered limbs, wail for masses in disheveled homes. Soothe the wives with blinded eyes. Ache for the children. They have been bombed. Weep, don't reel. Swing, sway, rock, softly, sing for sorrow. Hum thoughtfully for the humiliation. Hum. Sing for the vanishing tenderness of our lives. Chant, love, dance for its return. Sigh to the daily touch of a lover's skin. Love, don't languish. Stand, bow to the thunder of tides. Hope for the eruption of spring. Fall with veils of sky and sweeping rain. Dance, ferocious. Rejoice for a time you did not fear. Sing for a time you will not fear. Halt the waging of war. Check the torturing of souls. Praise the tender men. Exult in boisterous women. Chant Laudamus for hopeful children. Chant love for strong minds. Hope for outrage. Stand stilled. Knead red clay in summer sands. Stir to the purple-throated sage. Whisper with wildly woven moss. Hear the sky spreading itself thick with stars. Wrapped, dance with the falcons and merciful rain. Hum with Venus setting at dusk. Chant for a time we will not fear. Sing together in the light fabric of day. Step gently. Heed the lapping, receding tides. Don't sway. Glide, step, turn, soothe, stand with orchids in the wind. Thank you.
Sing for a time you will not fear. A lyrical paean and beautiful words for us to end on today. And now it is time for virtual roses and champagne and for applause and for thank yous. And all the poets join me today in thanking and praising to the skies our Administer Tech superstars, Tina Bica, Alicia Quiñones, and Veronica Maza. We could never have done this without your patience and your gracious and constant devotion to us. And all our poets give a very special shout out and thank you to our technical advisor and beauty maker, Tina Bica of San Miguel, who gave us innumerable hours of her Zoom wisdom. And we thank the marvelous PEN International Women's Writers Committee, our president and chairwoman, Zoe Rodriguez, and we have Lucina Kaufman, Tanya Tuma, Sarah Lawson, and Kätlin Kaldmaa. And I thank you guys all so much for your passion and your amazing ability to show up every single day for 3 months, no matter how insanely late or crazily early it is. And my dearest beloved poets, I absolutely fell madly in love with you and with your work. This was a huge privilege, and I thank you for your generosity with your time and your willingness to receive 40,000 emails from me every day. And this, as our very own Zoe would say, is brilliant. This is the second in our ongoing series of Free the Words, Poetry Gone Viral Global Poetry Zooms. Please stay tuned for our next event, which will be coming to you in February and which I'm sure will have something to do with love. We, the PEN International Women's Writers Committee, will continue to produce these regularly. We are keeping a poetry vigil to hold our community together in these days of staying separate. For our guests to PEN, I want to say that PEN International and our PEN centers are a vibrant and marvelously diverse group, and we are engaging all the time in global efforts to stand with and for the writers of the world to protect freedom of expression and the imagination. We have a case list of writers in prison all around the globe. And for our guest today, please join us in our efforts. Find your PEN Center. For more information on PEN International, we have posted the PEN website, the San Miguel PEN website, and my email in the chat. To get on our mailing list to be a featured poet, attend our events, or join our PEN, please email us. So, today, full of the beauty of our shared voices raised in global witness, we close Free the Word by remembering Nasrin Sotoudeh and ask that you join us in pressuring the Iranian government for her safe and immediate release. Our texts are putting into the chat a link to the PEN International Action Call, and that will help you find the language for your emails and tell you where to send them to help Nasrin be freed. Thank you for responding with action. And now it is my pleasure to bring to the stage our Women's Writers Committee Chair, Zoe Rodriguez, to close our gathering. Welcome, Zoe.
Hello, everybody from around the world. I start again. It told me to unmute. I thought I had. I want, first of all, of course, to thank the poets from everywhere who have so generously shared their words with us. To Judith for working so hard to curate this event. I think it's been wonderful. As Judith said, we have to thank Veronica Massa, Alicia Quinones, and Tina, who I've got to say, could anybody have prepared us more thoroughly, more properly, and taken up so much of her time in making this event a success? Thank you. PEN International has to thank PEN San Miguel. PEN San Miguel that has invested its own finances into creating a Zoom account that can host this event properly. As it is the Day of the Dead, I'm going to do something cheeky. I'm not a poet, but many of you know I was the daughter of a very fine poet from Australia, Judith Rodriguez, who was a pen person through and through. She wrote this very brief poem 40 years ago, and I invoke it to bring her back to us, and also because I think it's appropriate for this event. Epitaph. I was for use. I thank the trail that pours my dust. I thank the root that drinks my past. And as to now, I am for life. If you will raise and taste them growing, some fruit nearby, no more is owing. We meet in joys. Thank you all, and keep washing those hands.
Yay! Hey, poets, unmute yourselves and wave. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. We will see you in February with words of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you. Mucho gusto.
Chao, gracias, adiós.
Un gran placer. Gracias por
Thanks so much.
escucharnos. Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Thank you, Judith.
Big hug.
Dankeschön.
I'm going to miss you all, darlings.
Dankeschön, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Also from me. Thank you very much.
All you
Very
poets
good.
were wonderful.
Yes.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you to all the team who worked so well to this project. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
I love that we ended with Zoe's mother, Judith Rodriguez's words.
Oh, they're
Thank
beautiful.
you so much.
Yes, that was amazing.
Oh,
Perfect finish.
Thank you.
Good night, all. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Good night.
Colegas.
Bye.
Thank you to all.
Thank
See
you, thank you,
soon.
thank you.
Thank you.
See you on the
Tabitha.
page, my friends.
And
See you on
thank you,
the page.
everybody.
Judith, thank you.
Thanks.
Judith,
Judith, thank you.
Yeah, Judith.
so much.
Thank you.
And Tina, thank you very much.
Tina, see you.
Alicia,
Yeah.
Veronica.
Adiós.
Hasta luego, my friends.
Hasta luego.
Luego.
Hasta luego.
Thank you, Judith. Bon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So, bye.
Bye. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Aus.